50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
We need to go now.
I think we've lost them.
They've got Bung. Why did they go after him? He's not even a commentary channel.
I saw he tweeted "I'm Alex" once.
Really? That's it?
Not entirely. One of those goons dropped this.
Hunting people down based on that triangle?
Seems like it.
It's ridiculous. 2 of the 3 people at the top aren't even commentary channels, and the other one hasn't uploaded in 6 months. So what? Ty's suggestion on how to improve your content is to either stop making commentary videos or just stop making videos altogether?
Seems like it.
Huh. I always thought Ty seems like a reasonable dude.
He does only follow one Twitter account.
So?
And it's Scientology.
Okay, I take your point.
Shit, I think I heard something.
We have you surrounded. Come out with your hands up. Oh, bollocks. Commentary is dead. Keemstar said so. But I don't know why I'm talking about that. I'm not a commentary channel. Hey guys, Trollop here and welcome back to another episode of my Minecraft Let's Play. Today is a very special episode because we're going to be having a tour of my world. Here we are at the mob farm I've been working on. Commentary is dead. Keemstar said so. But I don't know why I'm talking about that because I'm not a commentary channel. So today we're going to carry on kicking ass and making gains on my free-to-play PKing account. Let's kick off the gains with some firemen. Commentary is dead. Keemstar said so. But I'm a Club Penguin channel. Hashtag tip the iceberg. Commentary is dead. Keemstar said so. But I'm a Roblox channel. Happy Wheels!
Cake one again, because I don't know what happened here. Here we go. Oh! What happened? Why is there a leg resting on my left shoulder? What's going on, Granddad? Get it off. Get it off. Is it in your brain? Is it in your head? Oh my goodness, it's actually stuck. The amount of times I played Happy Wheels, I've never seen that before. Look! Let me out of here.
This all on my own. No, I know I'm no Superman. I'm no Superman.
I feel like people can be a little bit too mean-spirited with these videos. You know, they take it a little too far. They try and convince themselves that the people they're making fun of, they're not real. They're YouTubers with a lot of subscribers. They're gods compared to me. I don't have to talk to them like human beings.
Is the commentary community dying? And if so, what can be done? That's the question I'm going to spend this video trying to answer. It will be a long journey. Taking a look at some of the protagonists and antagonists, who those are, is a matter of perspective. What do I think the problems are? What do I think some solutions are? But ultimately, what does it matter what I think? I'm just a lowly commentary channel coming towards retirement amongst a sea of other channels, some of which are actually doing really well at the moment. Both Chubbs and I'm Alex, 2 people who have recently come under criticism, are doing brilliantly in terms of sub and view count despite coming under heavy fire. This is for a multitude of reasons, who and where the criticism is coming from being a big part, but not the only factor. Criticism is what the commentary community in its current form is based on. It's a difficult beast to handle and something which I think the community is pretty bad at giving, receiving and implementing. Geodra Anthony has an excellent video about how to offer constructive criticism. go and watch it, it's good as a very general piece. But if you want to see a more specific example of how to offer constructive criticism, watch Quinton Review's video about Chubbs. Harsh criticism is important and something no one should be immune to, whether or not they are friend or foe. Too often I think criticism stems from people's personal opinions and not from a more objective standpoint. I like to think I do a decent job at being both harsh and constructive. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive. Quinton's video really gets to the heart of why Chubbs' content isn't as groundbreaking as his trips to Tesco are. Without going into too much detail on Quinton's video, because I think you should watch it yourself, he makes the point that Chubbs' content has always been devoid of real humour, lacking properly structured jokes with a setup and a payoff. I disagree. When Chubbs' If X Was Honest series began, it was really refreshing to see someone say what everyone else was thinking, but nobody else was actually willing to articulate publicly. They weren't trying to be a fully blown exposed videos. The setup was the persona these people had, the payoff was Chubbs picking out their insecurities and flaws.
I'm pretending I have Parkinson's disease because I'm edgy now, mate. Nah!
It worked in part because Chubbs was a small channel with nothing to lose, an underdog. The video's humour came from the fact you didn't expect Chubbs to go as far as he did, and this is partly because the viewers didn't have much of a precedent and so didn't have expectations. The dry delivery belied the harsh criticism. Like I said, Chubbs was the underdog, poking fun at people like KSI who often took themselves too seriously. Now he jumps on the bandwagon of hate against videos with an already terrible like to dislike ratio. Undermining the establishment doesn't have the same allure when you become the establishment. It's for this reason that so many people have started taking aim at Chubbs, and he's no longer an outsider. The criticism he offers has been watered down somewhat, and simultaneously my expectations as a viewer have increased. I've become immune to the kick of the lines, and so all I'm left with is the monotonous delivery, not particularly thrilling viewing. As well as this, Chubbs has gone from taking on infamous YouTubers to instead attacking faceless corporations like BuzzFeed. It's safer because BuzzFeed aren't going to fight back, but it's a lot less funny because I'm not personally invested in BuzzFeed. I am at least partially invested in someone like PewDiePie. If Chubbs wants to become funny again, he needs to go back to subverting expectations, and that's easier said than done. Chubbs is now sat at around 350k subscribers. He doesn't need to force his content to be 10 minutes. He doesn't need to maximise his revenue. He can do some things which don't necessarily make short-term sense, but would improve his channel overall. Nafuckers is someone who's further down the road than Chubbs is. Chubbs' videos still get a huger number of views relative to his sub count, which is itself still rocketing. But if Chubbs doesn't take a step back and think about how he can keep evolving, it's probable that he will stop growing as rapidly as he has done up to now and be left trying to change something in order to get the growth going once more. It's a lot easier to ride a wave than it is to create one. A more obvious and extreme example of this gradual immunisation is with Brad Does Banter.
Afternoon all, here's the clock.
Banter is energy that unites us all.
Well, dipped into the toilet, the bottom was touching the water.
When did Brad stop drinking titty milk?
Oh my god, that is sour!
Brad's videos are some of the most shocking on YouTube. There's a reason so many of them get flagged for harassment, but even ignoring the casual racism, which given that it is in jest, I don't take too much of an issue with, I still think that Brad's content has become a little stale. Calling a black person a Malteser is funny because it's shocking. There aren't many people who would say it. Even saying it twice is still shocking because at that point it's not a slip-up, he's doubling down on the shock comedy. But when you use the same 4 jokes over and over, they will still shock new viewers. But to older viewers, it's repetitive. I think Brad realises this, which is why some of his recent content escalated. He became more and more offensive and as a result received several strikes for harassment. To be honest, some of which were probably deserved. Brad can't go any more offensive or his channel will get shut down, so again he needs to find a way to go back to subverting expectations. I actually really liked how real and down to earth he seemed on the Fake Accents podcast, so personally I think he should explore that side more. There aren't many people willing to say anything bad about Clown, and although Brad can be obnoxious and often hypocritical, I think he's one of the more transparent people in the community, sometimes to his own detriment. One other criticism levelled at both Chubbs and Brad is the use of self-deprecation, but I'll get to that later. Alex has been both the poster boy and the scapegoat for much of the discussion that has gone on about the community. Part of it has been deserved, but also much of it hasn't. Alex's actions have been overly scrutinised because Keemstar doesn't like him and therefore chose to attack him. With that being said, part of the reason Alex has been thrust into this position is because he's put himself there. Going back to the end of Hot Wet Soup, Alex made a tweet where he said, "If you make a video on Zaptai, consider yourself done in this community." Now I'll note that Alex deleted the tweet and admitted he was wrong in what he said, but I think people's actions in the past can still be relevant when assessing their character even if they apologise. To me, this tweet was indicative of how Alex views his role in the community. He sees himself as at the centre of it all, pulling the strings, able to decide who succeeds and who fails. The idea that he or anyone else can completely destroy a channel is actually fairly laughable. The number of channels that have actually lost subs after being exposed is tiny, the amount of exposed videos, however, is not. I think that tweet demonstrated something of a god complex which Alex seemed to have, at least with regards to his own role in the community. I think Colossal has also demonstrated this at times, but is more careful about when and how he wields it. Many people are friends with Alex, and so it can be difficult to criticise him without incurring a negative response. I think Alex and his content should be subject to criticism, but there's a right and a wrong way. And I think Kavos did it in the wrong way. All of this ties back to the idea that there is a hierarchy of commentators, an in-crowd, and then the rest, all conspiring in a Skype chat about how to further each other's YouTube careers to the detriment of others. Firstly, to anyone acting like the existence of this Skype chat is a revelation, you're probably a moron. It's pretty clear that this has been the norm for quite a while, and to an extent it's both completely understandable and also a little demotivating as a small content creator. It's so hard to get any real traction on YouTube, and then if you see some perceived nepotism, it can feel like you've been wasting your time. It's not wrong to have friends, and it's not wrong to form a community, but it can make the community feel less accessible, and so I'm actually fairly glad it's been brought into the spotlight. I don't think the people involved realise the impact that sort of nepotism has amongst those not in the in-crowd. Regardless of how much this group actually affected each other's growth overall, I can understand why creators like Kavos find the mere idea of it frustrating. I haven't always seen eye to eye with Tommy C, but I think he's in the right when saying that it's healthy for any community to have multiple different groups and not a monopoly. More competition should mean better quality for the viewers, and that's the most important thing in my opinion. If you're making BuzzFeed videos, you're doing it for one reason, to get views. Whether that's right or wrong is up for debate, but you can't then turn around and say that Kavos sliming his way up to Keemstar in order to get views is scummy. It's hypocritical. Ultimately, everyone is out here trying to do their best to get exposure and just have a good time. It's all about having a good time. Fun is the only reason anyone makes YouTube videos. Fun. I, however, have never made a BuzzFeed video, and I don't even use mid-roll ads, so I get to sit on my moral high horse and rain down judgment on all those around me. Kavos' Grade A Under A video, complete with a hilarious Grade H Under H joke, was one of the most pathetic attempts at brown nosing I've ever seen. Disgustingly pathetic and sickeningly effective. I'm not saying the video was badly put together and edited, or that any of the points made were untrue, but everyone's known for about 6 months now that Grade backstabbed Keemstar. All Kavos did was take the points Clown spent 6 months making on Baited, applied it to a newer video, and bam, a guaranteed drama alert shoutout. Dignity's really overrated. But what do I actually think of Kavos' other content? To be honest, I think it's pretty average, and I mean that in the most bizarrely complimentary way possible. Is his editing groundbreaking? No. Does he use screen zooms a little too much? Yes. One very minor thing I would criticise both Kavos and pretty much every other person who does facecam videos is that try and mix up the backdrop or whatever you're framing yourself with. Just putting your computer screens behind you is massively overdone at this point, and you just try and diversify a bit more. Take a leaf out of the Lou review book, or even have a look at VWQ. One thing I do like about VWQ's videos is the way he uses the green screen to change what he has behind him. It doesn't have to be epilepsy-inducing and over-edited or flashy, but just a nice background that isn't your desk can help your videos stand out. I'm not saying VWQ was the first to use a green screen, but at least it's different. My main issue with Kavos isn't his editing, which is fine, if not exceptional. Where I think Kavos goes wrong is that his videos feel a lot more like attacks than they do intelligent or funny criticism. Either he hasn't heard of a thesaurus, or he just thinks the word agenda hasn't had enough coverage. When I watch a Supod's video, it's pretty clear that he's clever and capable of shitting on someone, but usually does it in a way that is still witty and largely tongue-in-cheek, harsh where necessary, but not mean-spirited for the most part. It's possible to do harsh criticism and even roasts without just being a massive dickhead. I think Kavos lacks the intelligence and charisma that Supos or Colossal have, and so is little more than a bully, and I don't have that much time for that style of video. With that being said, if the best response you can come up with against Kavos is that he has a lisp, you're a moron. Regardless of how poorly I think Kavos puts his points across, a lot of them are valid should you stretch out your videos to be 10 minutes long. Ethically, I have no idea, that's a question every viewer will have a different answer to, but in terms of entertainment value, he's absolutely correct. A lot, not all, but most of the videos I see that hit between 10:01 and 10 minutes 30 could have been covered entirely in 5 minutes. Even the ones that should have been 9 minutes would be more entertaining if they were left at 9 minutes, they just would be. The infamous Nafuckers video on KSI could have been much shorter and as a result been more entertaining. It's easy to brush off Keem's criticisms as trolling, but he's not always wrong. Going back to VWQ, I want to say that his content is average. Not terrible, but overall it's fine. VWQ grew large on YouTube through a Shoutout Sunday series and by spamming his channel link in other people's comments sections, two of the scummiest possible ways to get exposure. When this came up recently on Twitter, VWQ kicked back saying that he has apologised for it, recognised it was a mistake and that there was nothing else he could do about it. I understand his point, and I can see why he gets frustrated by it to an extent, but this comes back to the point I made with regard to Alex's tweet. He recognised he'd made an error and backtracked, but the fact VWQ did those things in the first place is still indicative of his character. This was only a few months ago, not 7 years ago. He was in his 20s, he can't just hide behind the fact that it was in the past. Context matters. He made the argument that content creation is a learning process, and I agree, I wouldn't want someone casting aspersions about me based on my early videos. But the difference is that even though I don't like them anymore and they're not that well edited, I can still defend every point I made on an intellectual basis, even if some of my opinions have changed. Elvis the Alien also got some initial exposure through spamming in comment sections, and I will always have slightly less respect for him because of it. I'm not saying it's enough to stop watching his videos over, but it is not commendable to build up other people's hopes about their own channels with the sole intention of giving yourself a leg up. Shows that Elvis was either naive enough to ignore the adverse effects of his actions, or he just didn't care. But how Elvis handles the criticism he gets about it is solid. He admits it was wrong, apologises, and says he deserves all the criticism he gets. What VWQ did was much worse than what Elvis did, but instead of accepting the criticism, he actually calls it defamation. Tyler High Definition called him out on Twitter recently, linking screenshots of when VWQ had comment spammed. VWQ reacted as if it was baseless slander. It wasn't. A shoutout series is one of the cardinal sins of YouTube, at least in my opinion. There's a reason they're mostly run by 13-year-olds. It aims to take advantage of desperate smaller YouTubers, often children, for one's own gain, and worse, having watched his No More Shoutouts Here's Why video, he either didn't realise all of the vast flaws of the shoutout community, or he lied to his viewers about being unaware of them. He's either malicious and self-interested, or naive and self-interested. I agree the action itself perhaps isn't still relevant, but what it and also his response to the points against him highlights about his character definitely still is. If VWQ had handled it in the way Elvis does, I would have more respect for him, but instead VWQ seems to want to argue the point that it was a long time ago and therefore it's not relevant. In my opinion, you have to own your past mistakes as well as your current successes. Stop using self-deprecation as a shield is something that's been said by the Kavos and Keem gang many times, but on its own it's a pretty weak argument in my opinion. Self-deprecating humour is commonplace amongst pretty much all comedians. As a creator, being able to laugh at yourself is a great way to break down the divide between you and the viewer. It makes you more relatable. A commonly put forward point in film critiques by people like Red Letter Media and I Hate Everything is that a film that understands its place and achieves what it sets out to, without taking itself too seriously, is much better than something which aims for greatness and falls well short. Self-awareness about your limitations and the ridiculousness of some situations can be a powerful tool. Let's take a look at some clips from Scrubs, a show built on a constant awareness of its place in the world.
Please, you know you love it. Now come on, one more time for nostalgia's sake. You come see my patient, you teach me a lesson, and then the music plays, right? In my head it sounds like this. Ba 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 ba.
Dr. Cox, can I borrow you for a minute?
Borrow me? Dear heart, you'll be rescuing me. Newbie, you're on your own. Get used to it.
These are funny because they come from a position of self-awareness, and so they're able to poke fun at the cliches they employ in a uniquely funny way. But it largely works because there is a setup and a payoff, something which is lacking from much of the self-deprecating jokes employed by YouTubers, which is why so many of them fall short of actually being funny. Take a look at PewDiePie. He uses self-deprecating humour all the time. He's honest with his viewers, or at least he seems to be, and because of that he's pretty likeable. PewDiePie is self-aware. He knows who he is and what he's good at, he knows his role, and he knows the limits of what he can do within the framework of his daily upload schedule, and the content that his viewers want to see. That's not to say he doesn't try to improve his content or take risks, but he knows his niche and he excels at filling it. Whether or not you choose to watch or even like PewDiePie, he's an example of how self-awareness can be a great tool when building an audience. It had more to it than just, my content is awful. The blanket statement that self-deprecation is bad is stupid and lacking in nuance, but so is the reverse. With all that being said, being self-aware isn't a free pass. You still have to take risks or try to improve. PewDiePie still deserves criticism for stretching out some of his videos. This laughing is bad video, it being a blatant example. The clips he used were already stretched out, and then he started the outro before 9 minutes, but then it still made it to 10:03. Brad having a very honest disclaimer saying he's just doing it for the money doesn't mean people should ignore that pretty much every one of his recent videos is the exact same. It isn't a defense. There's a place for self-deprecating humour, but not a place for repetitiveness. Making the same I'm fat, I'm boring, my content is terrible jokes over and over again isn't funny. Andy Milonakis made a point about how demonetizing YouTube would mean a lot more people would be genuine. He went on to suggest that if channels were willing to put in 1 day a week to videos which they didn't make money from, they would be really well received, and in the long term it would probably lead to more growth and success for the channel. I understand that people want to be paid for their work, but it's about the big picture. It's about your identity as a creator, it's about how people perceive you, and it's not about what the truth of your intentions is. If everyone starts to think you're boring, lazy and unfunny, that will kill your channel much more quickly than any exposed video ever could. I could make a whole video about identity on YouTube, but that would probably be a waste of half an hour for everybody watching. I'm not going to bang on about how 10-minute stretched content changes how people view your channel and how by extension that has bigger impacts on the long-term prospects for your channel, but it's important. Remember that. So after 4,000 words, rambling tangents and vague arguments against both sides, what's the answer to the original question? Is the commentary community dying? The short answer is no, not really, and you could probably have saved yourself 20 minutes if I'd just said that at the beginning. But the slightly longer answer is that it isn't perfect, it might be getting stale, and it may need to evolve to survive. Communities come and go on YouTube. People need to be better at giving and accepting criticism and actually implementing it. Change may be a good thing, but it isn't necessarily, and it may be painful. Give Kavos and VWQ a chance, but don't be afraid to turn around and say, you have a lisp, your opinions are invalid.
Sheila goes out with her mate Stella. It gets pulled all over her fella, 'cause she says money ain't no better than the next man kicking up.